Hi, and welcome to the I Teed Myself podcast. My name is Matthew Miniman, and this is episode 77. What can winning the lottery teach us about zero-click attacks? So, the lottery, a taxation on the statistically challenged, a way for the ping pong ball industry to take advantage of the American people. The slowest operation of gambling ever. I don't know. I'm trying to come up with funny ways to say shit, and it's lottery's just kind of dumb. It's lame. I'm not gonna try to tell you not to play the lottery, but I'm not going to tell you to not play the lottery. That's a lot of knots. Anyway, don't fucking play the lottery. It's kind of worthless. It's a waste of your money. If you look at the lottery, if you look at the odds of winning the lottery are something like 1 in 169 billion. Even winning a minor prize, it's 1 to 3. So like winning a minor prize, which may not even be your money back, it's 1 in 3 or 1 in 30, I think, actually, depending on what you're playing. There's not a good way to play the lottery. It is a taxation on the statistically challenged. If you're playing the lottery, you have a better chance of getting hit by lightning. You have a better chance of dying in a car crash on the way to picking up your winnings. You have a better chance of dying in a plane crash while driving a car while going to pick up your winnings. Like that's how implausible it is for you to win the lottery. And there's a significant amount of, trepidation against playing lottery because, one of the things that's been said is that you can't win if you don't play, that sort of thing. And one of the things that I think is that at least American United States citizens have been led to believe through various bad television and bad movies is that it's always possible. It is always possible to win. And I mean, it's kind of the basis of every fucking Hallmark video or Hallmark movie or fucking Lifetime movie or any one of those other like just cheap pulp movie studios. It's like, oh yeah, this guy won the lottery and all of his friends. I mean, there was one good Nicolas Cage movie. I mean, there's a lot of good Nicolas Cage movies, but there was one good Nicolas Cage movie about winning the lottery. And it was in like the 80s. But like the vast majority of lottery stories, oh yeah, it's totally possible. You can totally do this. And from a perspective of if you watch these bad movies, if you watch this bad television, you think it's not as impossible as it would seem to win the lottery, and there is something to be said about the positivity of belief and shit like that. But if you also watch movies and watch TV, bad television, and you've seen any sort of hacking, you might think it is crazy possible to do a zero-click attack, just to do an attack. Now, if you aren't aware of what a zero-click attack is an attack which requires no action on the user's part. Basically, all an attacker has to do is submit a command, and they own whatever system that they are targeting. There are very, very, very few vulnerabilities that have ever been detected that have this capability. That's not to be said that attacks aren't happening, breaches aren't occurring because of 0 days, but zero-click attacks where you're targeting a specific user is something that's different. And so to kind of give you an understanding of how unlikely or different a zero-click attack is, let me set the scenario for you. A zero-click attack typically involves compromising a user or a specific device through no action against the user. Now, the concept of a zero-click attack also means that specific device or that specific user must only be connected to the internet and must only have a device that is basically protected behind all of the other aspects of their secure function. So, to give you an idea, cell phones are a very popular target for zero-click attacks just because of their complex nature and how they can be controlled through a zero-click attack. Now, the NSO group has kind of perfected the zero-click attack through their Pegasus platform. But what a zero-click attack actually is it's submitting something to a device that then allows the remote attackers to gain control of it. I'm not saying that this is impossible. I'm not saying that it is improbable. But what I am saying is that you being attacked by it is probably not going to happen because of the level of sophistication and how frequently these attacks get patched. So, for instance, one of the most popular zero-click attacks is typically a malformation attack against an iPhone. This happened a long, long time ago. And not a long, long time ago. It happened in 2016 and 2019 and 2022 and 2023, where a specific set of characters, if sent to an iPhone, would cause it to crash in perpetuity. Basically, you could send a special set of characters, and the owner of the cell phone wouldn't even have to open their cell phone. They wouldn't even have to look at an app. Their phone would just start rebooting time and time again. And this would be considered a zero-click attack because all you had to do was send the person a text. It required no action on their part to receive the text. It required no action on your part other than sending the text. It would just be a simple command sent to the end user through text. And the anatomy of this particular attack is that the malformed code or malformed text that you're sending to the iPhone caused it to look up a particular section or font in its repository, and the way it translated that font or character caused some image interpreter to basically bork and effectively cause the device to constantly reset. And every time it attempted to read this specific character, it would die. It's a whole thing. And again, it's happened several times, and specifically on iPhones. I'm sure there are other attacks that have happened on Android, but they're not as popular or nearly frequently as put under scrutiny as iPhone. But the point being is that this is 100% possible. Another one that most common happens, and this is actually how the NSO utilizes Pegasus, is through things like WhatsApp. They send a specific coded sequence to WhatsApp. Basically, it's a packet that's sent across as a regular message, and all the attacker needs to do is have your phone number. And these attacks can basically, the way that this works is that there's some sort of link that the HTTP interpreter on your phone attempts to look at, because one of the things that your phone tries to do is it tries to look up links for you so that it can give you a preview of what the website does. And so when it does this, when it attempts to look at this preview, it actually ends up downloading the malware directly from the website that the link references. And without ever having actually visited the website, your phone does the processing for you, installs the malware on itself, and basically they own your device from the system inside and out. These are ways that a zero-click attack can happen, but they require a few things for them to occur. I don't know if you caught them. So the first thing that it requires is that the attacker has to know you exist, has to know your device exists, which for the vast, vast majority of us just isn't true. These types of attackers are very direct. They very distinctly target individuals. And this is one of the reasons why these attacks aren't more popular, because they have to know that you exist. Again, these are very sophisticated attacks. And in fact, what we see with companies like the NSO Group, when their tools become uncontrolled or somebody begins leveraging these attacks in the wild outside of their group, they actually notify whoever should be in charge of patching that vulnerability. Because the NSO Group is so confident in their ability to find another vulnerability that they give two shits about exposing the fact that they've been using this one vulnerability, as long as it keeps the vast majority of everybody safe. You could call the NSO Group's good guys in this scenario, even though, they're hacking a lot of other folk. At any rate, the attacker has to know you exist. And the second thing that has to happen is that the vulnerability has to exist. So you can't just do this. That's something important to note. You can't just do something like this. You have to have a vulnerability that can be exploited, and you have to be able to the vulnerability has to have been found by somebody, an attacker who is willing to perform that attack, and it has to be an unpatched vulnerability. It can't be a vulnerability that has been patched already. We find a lot of vulnerabilities after the fact, like after they've already been patched. We see this happen. And sometimes it happens within hours or days of the vulnerability being patched. We'll find a vulnerability that had previously been exposed. And so, when this happens, it's not just like the bad TV represents it. You have to have a few complicating factors in order to do this. Another thing that bad TV would have you believe is that, this can just be done at will. Like, you can just do this to any device, and you could do it to all devices across the world. And well, technically that's true because of how sophisticated the attacks are. You can't just massively spam every device across the world to do this. That's the infrastructure that you would require is prohibitive, and nobody's going to do that for a cheap thrill. On top of that, one of the things that freaks people out is, it's gonna they'll forever and for always have control of my device and my phone. And no, not necessarily. A lot of zero-day attacks or zero-click attacks occur through transient sessions. And so if you just simply reboot your device, you've kicked the attacker out, as long as they don't send you another coded text message. But the point there being is, if your device then gets patched and you reboot your phone, then the attacker can no longer get it. That sort of thing. Another mitigating factor is zero-click attacks also have to happen when your device is on. If your device is off or in sleep mode or whatever, your attacker can't attack you. They're not going to successfully take over your phone until it's turned on or joins the internet or whatever. So your tablet that sits offline or is quote-unquote air-gapped, you won't have an attack occur against that. Now, zero-click attacks are very specific. They're a very specific type of attack. They are targeting end users. They are targeting specific devices. What they aren't is they are not attacking devices, edge-facing devices that have vulnerability. Those are, again, zero-day attacks or misconfiguration attacks. And they are different because you have a device that is purposefully being exposed to the internet. You have a service that is purposefully being exposed to the internet, and the attacker is going against this purposefully exposed endpoint. And they are attacking those vulnerabilities directly. So it's not considered a zero-click attack, even though there is no, an admin doesn't have to do anything for that vulnerability or exploit to occur. But the nature of the service or the function or whatever that's being attacked is that it's supposed to be internet facing, and that is the defining factor. Where if you're at an airport and somebody attacks you via an IPv6 attack to gain access to your machine, that is your device is not directly exposed to the internet. It's not directly exposed to anything that you would think is malicious. It's just sitting out there doing what you would normally do. You're operating under normal conditions. So anyway, those are kind of the differences between the zero click and 0 day attacks that you normally would see, or standard breach methodologies. And the reason why I bring this up, and the reason why it's important to understand this, is that one of the things that can really put us into that can cause us to freeze or have fear paralysis is that it seems, if you would believe bad TV, it seems impossible to defend ourselves. It seems impossible to win against the bad guys. And I'm telling you, it's not impossible. These attacks are few and far between. And if one did get out into the wild, we actually had a circumstance where this occurred. Back in the late 90s, there was a worm. I can't remember the name of it right now, and I'm too lazy to go search for it. But there was an attack across the internet, the early internet ecosystem, where a worm, basically, if you connected to a machine that had this worm, you would be infected by this worm. And it spread across the internet just so very quickly. And I mean, it was an insane worm that could really own every system. And I remember this because I got contacted by my ISP when I attempted to sign in, and they said, hey, you have this worm. We're going to kick you off when you delete this worm, when you remediate your computer, we will allow you to log back on. And that was cool. Like, they had some sort of detection scheme to know when this worm was installed in my computer, and they also gave me the steps to remediate it. I mean, this is not something that has happened few and far, that hasn't happened before. This literally cascaded across the internet. We've had several instances of this already, and we've been saved by those who are watching at the walls. And so, don't let fear paralyze you into believing that this thing can happen. Just like, don't let bad movies talk you into spending your life savings on lotto tickets, because the lottery is not, you can't win the lottery at a predictable pace. It's not something that is likely to happen. You are not going to make money off of this. Just like you are very much really not likely going to get hacked by a zero-click attack. Most victims of zero-click attacks are people who have some sort of interest against nation-state actors or nation-state folk. Now, I'm not saying that it's definitely not possible, but anyway, that's a whole discussion for another time that I'm not going to get into here. Anyway, the whole point of zero-click attacks and this conversation is that you, as an individual, have more of a chance of winning the lottery than you do of getting hit by a zero-click attack. You, as an individual, with your normal day-to-day operations, with your normal behaviors, have a better chance of being compromised and fully owned and shit happening from your device. You have a better chance of going to the moon than getting hit by a zero-click attack. And that's kind of just statistics. Well, that's all I have for today, guys. I hope you have a great day.